I'm joined by U.S. Ambassador to Venezuela, James Story. Ambassador, thank you for your time. But I want to start here with what do you think both leaders will actually tell one another when and if they speak?
Well, certainly, Alex, I think Maduro's gambit always is to kick the can down the road to the extent practicable, not entertain the idea of leaving power. Even after losing the election last year, he didn't leave power. I believe the president's position here has been to put additional pressure on the Venezuelan regime, on Maduro, and he's going to be seeking his departure. So there's a pretty big gulf between the two positions. One, the president of the United States would like to see Maduro leave, and two, Maduro would like to stick around for as long as possible.
Well, and Ambassador, I'm curious. I mean, what do you make of the U.S. ramp up in the Caribbean? I mean, we talked about the USS Gerald Ford Strike Group, the most capable aircraft carrier in the world. Now, just miles off the Venezuelan coast, you've got Marines that are running drills in Trinidad and Tobago, which is literally just 7 miles at its closest point from Venezuela. Is this the best way to handle this illegal drug problem?
Well, when I ran counter-narcotics for the Western Hemisphere and also in Colombia, we would always judicialize the cases. And you work with your regional partners, you go after the organizations themselves. The idea being that you're trying to find the dirty money that's up in Miami, the dirty money in Medellin, and the money that undermines democracies across the region. I mean, you've got a former president of Honduras, Juan Orlando Hernandez, currently in jail in the United States for narcotics trafficking. And that happens when you work in concert with other nations in the region and you judicialize the cases. What we have in the region right now, the firepower that we have in the Caribbean, is entirely not fit to task for a counter-narcotics operation, but rather for engagement with a state actor, and that state actor being, in this case, Venezuela. So I think that the president's first term, when he talked about all options are on the table, he's now put a lot of those options, those kinetic options, right at the front doorstep of Nicolas Maduro.
Well, and Colombia obviously shares a border with Venezuela. We've heard the president talk about Colombia's part in this drug trade. Its president, Gustavo Petro, has been outspoken. He's been critical, and he says that he would not help if the U.S. comes down to and uses a ground invasion. He also said that he was going to stop sharing intelligence with the U.S. But what happens if the U.S. carries out operations and gets rid of Maduro? I mean, what happens next?
Well, I'll submit to you that the easy part here would be to take Maduro out if the president made that decision. Their military is a shell of what it used to be. They don't really have any ability to counterattack the United States. There's certainly not one pilot in their Air Force willing to enter a Sukhoi and go against an F-35. That's just not going to happen. So to some extent, the easy part is actually removing Maduro from power, either directly or by those around him indirectly. The much harder part will be reinstitutionalizing a country that has been systematically beggared for 25 years. So all of the institutions of state in Venezuela are completely 100% focused on the support of one small group of people. And you see them on your screen right now. This criminal group masquerading as a government, already voted out of office, stays in power through making certain that the state itself is subservient to them. So how do you fix that? And it's going to take time and effort. I have faith in the Venezuelan people, but it's not going to be a linear progression. In addition, you have illegal armed groups such as the FARC and ELN. These are Marxist foreign terrorist organizations from Colombia, currently residing inside of Venezuela, as well as elements of Hezbollah, the colectivos, which are small terrorist groups, and also the Tren de Aragua. All of that illegality, all of that criminality, you're going to need the military of Venezuela to remain extant in some way to deal with that level of criminality, illegality, and terrorist organizations that are in the country.
Yeah. Well, and I'm curious, if Maduro is removed from power. Look at his chief rival, someone that Secretary Rubio says that he's had a longstanding connection with, Maria Corina Machado. He's currently a Nobel Peace Prize winner, but she's also in exile right now. I'm curious, do you think that she has the sway and the momentum to really lead that country if Maduro was to be removed?
Well, Alex, she's not in exile. She's in hiding. She's inside of Venezuela, hiding from a dictatorial regime that has, with regularity, jailed, tortured, and killed their political opposition. She won a primary leading into the election last year by over 90% of the vote. So she pulled together the opposition in a way where she is now the head of that opposition. Edmundo Gonzalez had to run in her stead when the Maduro regime would not allow her to run for president. So you have Edmundo Gonzalez, who is elected president of the country. You have Maria Corina Machado, who is the head of the opposition. Now the question really is, how do you get the state at what level can she and Edmundo Gonzalez and others, were there to be a transition to democratic governance? At what level can they rely on this state that for 25 years has been subservient to the Chavista ideology, and it no longer is a neutral? They no longer operate neutrally. There are no decisions that are made in that country that go against the ruling clique. I think that's a fair question, and it's going to be difficult. They're going to need the support of others. They're going to need the support of the region, and unfortunately, President Petro has made a decision to enter into a fight with the president of the United States because he thinks it'll help him politically next year. President Lula, on the other hand, I think can play this much better from Brazil. But certainly without President Petro's support, that border area will become extraordinarily unstable because the FARC and ELN elements will simply go back and forth across the border to avoid persecution on either side. So that they're going to need help from the region and certainly from the United States as well.
Certainly. Some really good points there, Ambassador Story. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me tonight.